Well, good morning. It is Wednesday, December 2nd. We're here for a morning devotion. And again, it comes from Walter Brueggemann's book, Celebrating Abundance, his Advent study. And this one is entitled, A Vicious Cycle Broken. And its reference is Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4. He shall judge between the nations and shall arbitrate for many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift a sword against nation, and neither shall they learn war anymore. And so he writes, It is written in Deuteronomy that the poor will always be with you. It is written elsewhere that there will always be wars and rumors of wars. It is written in the American psyche that the big ones will always eat the little ones. It is written in the hearts of many hurting ones that their situation will always be abusive and exploitative. It is written and it is believed and it is lived that the world is hostile, destructive place. You must be on guard and maintain whatever advantage you can. It is written and recited like a mantra, world without end. In the middle of this hopelessness, Advent issues a vision of another day, written by the poet, given to Israel in the midst of a deathly cadence. We do not know when, but we know for sure. The poet knows for sure that this dying and killing is not forever, because another world has been spoken, another decision has been made, a word has been given that shatters our convictions, which bursts open the prospects of life in a world of death. The poem lingers with dangerous power, even for us, even now. Watch that vision, because it ends a dramatic moment of transformation. The old city is full of blacksmiths who have so much work to do. Listen, and you can hear the hammer on the anvil. The smiths are beating and pounding iron, reshaping it, beating swords into plowshares and spears into tools for orchards. They are decontaminating bombs and diffusing the great weapons system. The fear is dissipating. The hate is collapsing. The anxiety is lessening. The buildup of competitive threat is being reversed. The nations are returning to their proper vocations, care of the earth, love of creation, bounty for neighbors, enough for all, with newness, deep joy, hard work, all because the vicious cycle has ended and life becomes possible. This vision sounds impossible. It sounds impossible the first time it was uttered, and it has become more realistic, and it has not become more realistic in the meantime. Advent, nonetheless, is a time for a new reality. It is not the poem, but the old power arrangements of deathlessness that are unrealistic. They are the unrealistic among the nations in our communities and churches and families. There is a new possibility among us now, rooted in God's love and God's suffering power. Power from God breaks the vicious cycles. We have seen them broken in Jesus, and occasionally we have seen them broken in our own lives. It is promised that the cycle can be broken. Disarmament will happen, and life can be different. It is a promise, and it is coming in God's good time. And so one of the most famous passages in Isaiah is when he talks about God is creating a new thing, creating a new heaven and a new earth. And in the midst of all of that, those words he's talking about, and he's envisioning the people of the coming Messiah and what that Messiah will mean. A new heaven and a new earth where there's no wars, no poverty, no turmoil. Everything is reshaped and looks differently, and that's what he's getting at here. There's a time and a place in this Advent as a time for us to imagine and revision what our world can look like. Where we will take our swords and make them instruments of peace, and we will take our spears and make them into instruments to work in the orchards. We shall not lift up sword against nation where peace will reign. That's the new heaven and the new earth that God will create. And this Advent brings us to a time to reflect on that and to remember that God is at work. And so he ends with this prayer. God of love and suffering power, speak again your words of transformation in the midst of our weary world. We so easily capitulate to desire, to despair, to numb acceptance of deathly orders. Break the vicious cycles and kindle in us once again a passion for the possible. Amen.